Okay, hopefully my software doesn't crash while I'm actually trying to bring up my chat window here. Hopefully no issues. I swear I have it. There it is. Let me just pop out my chat. Okay, well, I lost my chat. I think I lost my chat. There it is. All right.
This is one of those trails that the way opens up with, and for those brave enough. The way opens up. That's just, that's just a taste of the trail. One of the most famous while the views are well worth Earth. That means plenty of tough weather. So keep a close eye on the weather. 12. The Cascade Saddle.
Let me move my windows around. I got too many goddamn windows open. Hey, what's going on? No, this is, I'm doing this live. Boeing. Boeing versus Airbus. That's a good name. Who would win? Boeing versus Airbus? Right now, I'm going to go with Airbus.
The Cascade.
These are brand new episodes of some top 5 episodes that I've had in the queue. I recorded them this morning, and I've been lazy today, just kind of taking it easy, and we're going to do just a live session, relaxing live session. If there's any audio questions, I can always answer those.
Isengard.
About either my process.
While hikers may not come across
audio editing or even plugins and stuff. We can talk about that stuff if anybody's interested.
It's a beautiful journey.
Let me know if there's any audio issues.
It's a beautiful journey, but until then, everyone enters the saddle at their own risk. For now, the national.
Okay, good. Yeah, I just want to. Hopefully, when I'm talking over my own voiceover, actually, I'll do it right now. Hopefully, right now it's set up to where you can hear me a little bit more than the actual voiceover that's playing. So I'm trying to get the side chaining down, so it's not too overpowering to listen to me talk over myself.
Only and all who do experience. Well, and all who do come need to be. The entire trail takes each about as cozy as hiker, because the route is full of because that's the need to be outfitted with shoes. Those lucky enough to make it in one piece or treat. Just make sure to bring a fellow. Enjoy it. Track. Located in.
Any bloopers that are happening in the narrations? Well, let's see. So every time, normally my recording sessions go pretty smoothly. They're all cold reads. So, for the most part, I guess I've done this so many goddamn times that I can usually get through a cold read without too many. But anytime you see these little clicks, or that little noise, that means
organizers recommend.
That means I've screwed up at some point with just something simple. But as far as bloopers go, there's not too many bloopers per se. There might be occasional sneeze or some weird sound that I might make, or the occasional burp or fart or something. That might creep in there. But I usually click. I'm disciplined enough with my process to click. So I have at least some visual references to, I made a mistake. But I've done this so many times.
And to top it all off, the
second nature at this point.
In 2009, now permits must be.
Right now, I'm primarily looking for pacing. Breath removal and attenuation. I don't remove too many breaths, but
which also allows the local
occasionally at the beginning of new ideas or new sentences or new paragraphs, I will
for sweaty organizers.
Remove the breath.
Organizers recommend training for a full year before it, and just for a little a large part of the and just for a little
And sometimes I get to see, I can see this waveform is identical to this one pretty much, but it's like a second take. So I know after that click, I prefer the second take.
Track.
And this big giant space that I'm putting in here is a sample of noise from the end of the track, which is way down here. Oh. Little Metal Gear sound. So I usually take about maybe a second and a quarter, second and a half sometimes, and just throw it onto my clipboard, so that way I can paste in silence if I need to.
And just for a little historical perspective, a large part of the And just for a little historical perspective,
you can see I was having problems.
And Papua for.
Oh yeah, Australasia. I think it was Australasia and Papua New Guinea. I have a bad habit of saying Papua New Guinea instead of Papua New Guinea, which is always a pronunciation thing. I guess most narrators have to deal with.
And just for a little historical perspective.
I also am zoomed in a little bit here on the waveform up top on the yellow. Normally my waveform will look like this, which is a little bit lower. It's a decent, but I like to zoom in just a little bit, a couple dB, just to see what's going on there. Voice crack? Oh yeah, voice crack. Oh, that's what I'm editing for. Voice cracks, sounds that just sounded really strange.
The stunning photogenic.
Like, I'll even sometimes get a little obsessive when I hear that sounds of the F. Sometimes your lip might not be as smooth as you want it to be.
Stunning
photogenic, and I can already see in there's a little bit of cracking going on. Sometimes I'll go in and adjust it. Most of the time I don't, because it's inaudible to anybody not paying attention for it.
On so many screens.
So
Crowd
I don't
appeal
really worry about it.
The 22-mile, giving you a tropical island. The 11-mile.
So you'll see after I'm done doing this process of going through and removing all the mistakes, I go through and I add some restoration, some declicks, deplosives. Actually, deplosives I'm not going to focus on too much. I'm trying to work on the mic setup in the booth.
Festooned.
So I can get, so I don't have to worry about them as much.
The 11-mile trail is. The 11-mile trail.
Well, I'll tell here. This is what the video's about. Here, you'll play the intro.
Going for a hike is a great way to connect with nature. The stakes are low, it's typically free, and you're given the chance to leave your woes behind, even if it's just for a short time. But there are some hiking trails out in the world that require a bit more finesse and concentration. From narrow paths carved into steep cliffs to treacherous mountain passes, there are plenty of hiking trails that require courage, skill, and a whole lot of determination. So for today's video, we're going to explore 15 of the most dangerous hiking trails in the world.
So that's the video, 15 dangerous hiking trails, and I didn't even attenuate some of my breath. Usually in the intro, I like to at least knock them down.
From narrow paths.
Knock them down by a few dB, just manually. I have something over here called breath control from Isotope, which really does actually I have it way too high. Usually does a pretty good job with catching breaths automatically. And I don't really have to worry about it, because most of the time in the booth, my breaths aren't too overpowering for the most part. Sometimes they can be a little crazy, but not too much. The Mount Everest. Did I do a video about Mount Everest?
Rivulets. The first 2 miles of the. But to proceed beyond Hanakapi.
Oh, can you guys hear that background music?
When to go? Well, any time of the year is open season.
Yeah, it's really low on my headphones.
The trail to the spectacular 300-foot. Confident.
I usually have some kind of background music track going ultra low, just so I don't have to listen to my voice as much.
Experiencing Hanakapi and a step. This is Angel's Landing. All right, heading back to beautiful Utah, Park. But don't let the name fool you, because this one step.
That's one of the challenges that I've been running into lately is
one step in the wrong direction,
finding
and you may
the right subject matter, or not the subject matter. It's finding the right amount of breath to leave in is a challenge, because the breaths tend to communicate a lot more than you think.
And if those steep cliffs don't get you, then maybe the heat will. This place is hot, so make sure to
Yeah, usually when you have an emotive sentence, the breath really does help bring out the emotion a little bit more. When you're just regurgitating facts, like a lot of simple history stuff that I do, when I'm just regurgitating facts, it's kind of not pointless, but for the most part, I really do attenuate most breaths or even delete them for the most part, because it doesn't really add anything unless I'm using a quote or a much more natural type of speech where it's more casual.
This series of located throughout the Alps, the series of
Oh, this is a tough one.
This series of protected.
Yeah, that's one good thing about the process is knowing how to cut on a certain syllable, where you don't just start, on a consonant or something. You can start on a transient.
It's also
C's and T's and P's are good to cut on, or
unless
to
you're
make
a
an
seasoned
edit.
climber. It is definitely a far away from this alpine route. It is definitely a bucket list entry for those in the know, though.
And besides, a lot of the breath editing that I do is
alpine
designed to cut down on overall time in the video.
Now, in just about every climber,
I don't do a lot of the animation sides of things anymore. I used to do some for
who is
the
named.
What was it? The promo artwork that we used to do. Not anymore, though. We've got a bunch of people now doing a lot of the new animation stuff.
For special troop movements.
There's a whole crew of people that we use,
including steel cables that climb. There are similar routes all over. It's the type of 7. The mist.
I can see this noise. The noise, I must have had something running in the background. My booth is pretty quiet, but it still picks up some house noise, like furnace or refrigerator in the kitchen, which is like 2 rooms away, and it still picks it up.
But some stretches are enter the mist. The mist trail is one worse than others. Enter the mist trail. The mist trail is one of the more popular routes, in part because of the stunning views you get along the way.
Yeah, I'm actually listening for these plosives. Let me zoom in a little bit. You can see these sharp spikes down here in the bottom. Those are, well, they're not too bad plosives. These are pretty.
Trail is one of the more popular routes, in part because of the.
Yeah, it's not hitting the. Well, at least in my headphones, it's not hitting the capsule of the mic and causing any kind of weird distortions or any kind of noise. So I'm also listening for those so I can actually modify where my pop filter is set up in the booth in case I need to adjust, because I'm trying to get away with not using this thing, a deplosive plugin, because I have a bit of my vocal timbre would be a baritone with a low kind of a trailing end to it. And a lot of my words sort of dip down at the end, and they go down into the frequencies that this plugin will remove, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to remove any of that low, impact sound. And the deplosive, it does get rid of it, and I don't like that.
And
I don't like the way that sounds. Lip sync. Oh, the lip sync for what was it?
It's
Adobe Character Animator.
The majority.
That was time consuming to do lip sync,
even when the.
I don't envy people doing it manually in things like After Effects.
And they all have. And they all have one thing in common. Every climber looks like an ant in comparison to this massive wall.
So I don't want to get back into that. It's very time consuming.
You walk.
Because the program actually does it itself, Character Animator.
It's travelers going. Kakum Canopy Walk allows hikers to experience a portion of the jungle, usually giving them a bird's eye.
It does it automatically, but you have to go in and correct those little Vizime frames, or the Vizime keyframes, or whatever they're called.
Looking to increase tourism, specifically opened on Earth Day and night of the ground. Across over 1,000 feet of walkway. However, the planks and even have safety netting. Trail. So while it does look incredibly scary, Number 5. Devil's Slayer. Path. Slayer. They sing about going south of heaven. Devil's Path.
Slayer.
Dubbed the toughest trail in the East, the Devil's Path takes about 3 days to complete it.
Wow, I must have screwed that up.
The Devil's Path takes about 3 days.
That's a long one. That long space in between those takes, I was probably thinking about a word or something.
The Devil's Path takes about 3 days to complete as hikers make their down through limbo, descending into increasingly difficult terrain.
Down. I think I read that and I'm like, why am I saying down 3 times? It was very strange. That script was very...
sleet, and snow turn to granite, mud, rains.
That script was written very well, but there's a lot of weird... almost alliteration. It was like too much alliteration in the script.
New York Devils Geek offers.
Is there only one person who owns the channel? As far as Simple History, yes. There's a guy named Daniel Turner. He's the owner of the channel, and we've been working together since, God, I don't even remember, 2016, 2015, and we started. I know I started with him when he only had maybe a few tens of thousands of subs, maybe 20 or 50,000, something like that. And it's been quite a journey.
With a total of it doesn't take the greatest hiker faint of heart, despite being so terrified.
Yeah, he's got a Twitter. He doesn't do a lot of his own personal thoughts on Twitter. It's more about history anecdotes and history little tidbits and things like that. So it's not like well, I guess it's more of a marketing thing than just like a personal way to get out there and talk to people.
Meaning there are...
I guess you can say I probably talk to a lot more fans than most of the people do, but that's a good thing. I enjoy doing that.
At 6,280 world. It's also home to
occasional clips of Simple History. Actually, do I have... yeah, there's a new script coming up. Okay, so whoever's watching this, I'll tell you what the next script that I'm going to be recording is. Let me find it. Script. So this will be... so Viet Cong. The Viet Cong tunnel rat cross-section. And, yeah, I love the cross-section the videos where we sort of go into depth, a little bit more depth. It's almost less simple history and a little more complex history about details about cross-sections of tanks and planes and different. I haven't released it yet, but the trench cross-section of a lot of trench warfare from the embattlements, the lines, the first, the structure of the trench mechanism in World War I. So that's going to be an interesting one. I finished the voiceover, I think, last week, and I think they're still animating it. Should be coming out soon. I know we just released a compilation video, and usually the compilation video, secret insider tip, you can probably see the cadence. The compilation video is usually a day or two before the live, the newer episodes come out.
Due to avalanches, over 130 due to avalanche, 130 height, over 100. An observatory near the summit. Weather.
I'm going slow here today.
Telling visitors who
trying to relax this morning.
Shorts to turn back now is, despite knowing how of 12.
Oh, that's a transient and a half. Normally, I don't make any adjustments to individual syllables or consonants or transients, but that one just stuck out way too much. Like I have a compressor in here which takes care of a lot of that stuff.
And the others can,
so I don't actually worry about it.
and the others can drop.
And I take out a lot of the mouth clicks later on at the end. It'll be like a mouth click. I have so much mouth clicks in the morning, it's not even funny. But
While the cog,
that's been the longest. That's taken the longest time for me to find the settings on Isotope's D-Click to where it doesn't impact the sound of the voiceover, but it removes a lot of that mouth noise and that kind of wet sounding stuff.
Agiokochuk,
Oh yeah, that's the Native American.
the indigenous people of the region referred to Mount Washington as Agiokochuk, or the home of the Great Spirit. The weather here is so
Don't want that breath.
extreme that the mountain itself really does. Number 3, Camp Muir. The 9.
Nope.
Enough.
I can hear myself saying the words.
For 2 miles. It's innocent. It's innocent, quaint, and gorgeous. Then, after some climbing, they'll hit the Muir snowfield. Well, this section, from here, you'll have to navigate. If you stay on the snowfield, you should be safe. But Camp Muir is glaciers.
What is that?
Expanse.
Obsessive compulsive sometimes.
Glacier. Camp Muir is made for only the fiercest.
I can't even say fiercest. Fiercest. I'm not going to fix that.
These conditions
I found that sometimes, especially in this day and age of AI voices, that sometimes leaving little vocal flubs, little tiny sort of mispronunciations helps. How it helps, I'm not 100. I can't really define it.
of summer.
But it gives a voiceover a bit more reality to it. That it's coming out of a person's head.
Proper
I'm
clothes.
always curious about that. How do people actually give a damn whether or not a voice is digital, AI generated, or actually being spoken by a human? I'd like to think that people want to hear a person talking, but some of these voices, some of these voices are doing amazing things.
While Camp Muir can be done without one. Number 2.
Oh, look at that. How long does recording narration take? So, all right, let me back. Oh, sorry, I've been editing. Let me go into a different one here. I'll show you on these durations. So this is 4 episodes. So they're going to get down to between 18 to 21 minutes. So they'll take me. So this next one, Optical Illusions. Actually, I'm looking forward to that one. I love Optical Illusions. Optical Illusions took me 26 minutes and 17 seconds to record it, to read it. And you can see all these big giant spikes. That's all the mistakes. And in 28 minutes of recording it, now I'm streaming this, so I'm going slow today, but normally this would take me to edit this down to where it's ready to go, takes about 10 minutes. So overall, I'm spending, 45 minutes, let's say, to get a produced episode out that will last anywhere between. They've been really long lately. I'd probably say 20 minutes. Most of these episodes lately have been about 20 minutes. So there's about five or 6 minutes of sort of just mistakes that I got to cut out. But this one started, I think, since I've been editing it, this one started at about 25, I think is what it was. And it's rare that I'll actually get through something with no mistakes. Because, I mean, these are, what are these, 3,000 words, roughly? So, I mean, I would consider these more longer format voiceovers than a short format voiceover. A lot of the simple history stuff that I do is usually only maybe between 13 to 1,500 words per episode, roughly, which is about 10 minutes or so. So yeah, so double that to what top
from
five
the cliff edge above. If you don't like heights, In fact, the El Caminiti was technically
There was a lot of misspellings
this really
in this episode, in this script.
it's only made is only
El
made
Caminito del Rey was misspelled a bunch of different times, and I had to do a lot of research to find. There was El Caminiti was apparently some area of that around this trail, and without knowing that, it feels like I'm making a mistake.
this really is only made and climbers have to as many sections of the trail have crumbled and climbers have to navigate over as much as 10 feet of missing trails in some sections. With a 100-foot drop below you, it's no small feat. Eventually, trails in some with a 100-foot drop below you, that's no small feat. Eventually, in 2015, this is very much a you need to be in type of place. You need to be in tip-top shape. You need to be in tip-top in the air. Even the most seasoned hikers take circuit.
Did I say hikers? My Rhode Island accent creeping in.
Even the most seasoned hikers take about 5
Hikers. Well, at least I got the R out. That's good. So I really do catch myself with the R's, with not saying the R's. The hikers over here.
If there ever
How long is the Rams?
was a place trekking to to do it. Trekking to the top of Mount Huashan. For those who make it to the top, there are Buddhist. But maybe what makes it so good, any cup of tea is amazing. Visitors access the temples by climbing. At some point,
Let me change my thing over here. There we go.
at some points, even the wooden planks disappear and rock. It's a well-known destination for adding to the fear. One little push from while Mount Huashan is not just the way you had hoped. While Mount Huashan is one of the scariest hiking trails, many recommend staying, meaning round trip, meaning trekking up this mountain in the dark. I'll see you next time.
All right, so
dark.
That's it for that. So let me zoom out. Yeah, so we're right here. So first step that I usually do when I edit is I just take a look at the overall waveform just to see where the peaks are at. You know, I can see there's a few giant ones coming up here, these little transients.
West coast of the United,
which is fine. And I have a couple of keyboard shortcuts. So normally, if they're like little whiskers, right? You want to shave. I like to think of this as shaving it down. Sometimes I go in there and I manually just go in and maybe auto heal or reduce amplitude by 3 dB because I got keyboard shortcuts and stuff that'll do it all for me. But in this case, there's really nothing that's peaking over. I mean, there's nothing important, nothing major that's peaking over negative 9 dB. So I have a little shortcut which will just basically slice the tops of those peaks right off. So I have a more consistent file when I process, and that's really it. I mean, that's once I shave it. Now it's just a bit of restoration. The declick process is just I have it set up to where it'll take me a few minutes. Let's see, two or 3 minutes, maybe 2 minutes. And while that's working in the background, I just start my next episode. So that declick process, once that's done, I just go back in there and apply all the rack effects to the voiceover. And golden. So yeah, and this one looks to be about the same level. I've been working on trying to find the right gain staging in my booth to make sure that I'm not. Some of my transients and sibilants really does peak sometimes, like way up there. That one's really spiky.
3D space as opposed to a 2D one.
Let me just throw in my preset here.
2D one, which is what the image is created in. So it's probably actually trying to understand space as opposed to a 2D one.
Yeah, that's a really big transient for me sometimes. It's a bit sibilancy, and sometimes it can get out of hand. Oh, this is the one. I don't know if you guys can see that. That's tough to see. There's a lot of ambient noise back here. There's this one frequency. Let's see what that's at. 240. That's interesting. That frequency was generated by this neighbor that I had. Was right outside the window where my booth is. And actually, it's very quiet. I mean, I don't even know what the peak amplitude is that. I mean, my noise floor is pretty good. in that booth, but you see what that amplitude is. But he had a leaf blower, and he was using a leaf blower for pretty much the whole day, and it was kind of annoying. But I could hear it, but the mic really wasn't picking it up because I do have a gate in there, so it doesn't add too much. So negative 58 dB for the peak amplitude on that. So that's really pretty quiet, and you're not going to hear that. And plus, I can always apply noise removal if I want to, which I don't think. Trying to get away from using too much noise removal, maybe about 3 or 4, maybe 5 dB of background noise removal. I notice anything above that tends to start affecting the vocal in kind of a weird way. It gives it a bit of, I'm not sure if that's dithering or if that's something else, but it affects it in a very strange way. It almost gives it a artificial sound. It's still kind of unusual. I don't know the correct term for what that noise removal process does, but it becomes sort of, artificially garbly, bubbly, very strange. But actually, there's one thing I want to do here. So normally, I've been experimenting with boosting or using an upwards expander on this. This is a multi-band compressor, and I do have a compressor to get rid of a lot of the sizzle sound, because I do have a lot of sibilance, a lot of sizzly sounds in the back of my voice, and I want to try to reduce that harshness, not by much. I mean, this is a compressor that will reduce it at most 6 dB, but the threshold is set to where it's not going to catch nearly any of that. But you'll see.
Optical illusions have fascinated and perplexed people for centuries, challenging our perception and understanding of the world
So if I take that off, it sounds
around us. From impossible objects to shifting colors to hidden images.
Yeah, it's tough to hear, but I can hear it on my cans here. Yeah. But I've actually been experimenting with upward expansion on the very low stuff to try to sort of shape those lower sort of bassy trail ends of my syllables, and it's been working, but it's almost too much. I almost don't want it, so I've been going in and reducing a lot of this. Sometimes you know what, let's just take it off. I don't even need it. That particular actually, let me show you guys here. So that particular setting, I love this compressor. That particular setting, I have it triggered so where anytime frequencies within this range, so from 400 to 1000, anytime those reach above negative 12 dB, it triggers an expansion of this section of the low stuff, like the stuff below 120 hertz. It gives it a boost. So anytime that frequency, that between 4 and 1000, a little bit muddy sometimes, can be kind of nasally, and I've been experimenting with trying to get the bass sound to sound a little bit cleaner, to sound a little bit more natural, it's been working, but it's almost too much. So I just been deleting it and just letting it stand on its own. Whatever bass I have in there, it can just stand on its own.
Illusion.
Even on the EQ that I use, this is my EQ curve. There's resonances in my booth at these points. This isn't a huge, actually you can probably see it better this way. This isn't actually, can you see that as a thing? Let me see if I can. Does that show up as a full screen effect? No, it doesn't. Oh, damn, that's right. It doesn't do plugins. You guys don't see my plugins. I got to work on that. You guys can't see my plugins. Let me do this. Let me see if this will go over Adobe Audition. And bing. So no, I guess you can't see it. Well. Oh well. I'll have to work on that because I don't like showing my full monitor. But I guess I'm going to have to with this, so I can actually show people plugins and whatnot. Show that aspect of it. All right, I'm going to be right back. I got a call coming in. I will be right back, guys. All right. All right, we'll come back. Let's go back to it. There it is. Sorry about that.
Illusions. Illusions.
Hey, you're still in here, huh? It's late for you.
Eyebender.
It's got to be late for you. What time? It's got to be over, what, oh no, is it in the morning or PM? I think it's PM for you. I think it's what you used to say.
This video and concentrate on the letters that you don't need to concentrate. You don't need to concentrate. You don't need.
Oh, let me go back and make sure. Yeah.
As the wavy lines swirl and move, as the wavy lines where you're seeing color and some color where you may experience some color latent swirl and move, you may experience some as the wavy where you're seeing color where you're latency, which you're seeing.
Oh yeah.
Where you're seeing color at the same time. At the same time, you may feel slightly. Now prepare for the image to. Most people, if they've done this in the animation, the lines are moving, and when you're shown the image of writing, luckily this doesn't last for too. No. 14. The Pinna Braille Staff illusion. Number 14. Staff. Number 14. The
14? The hell did I just do there?
The Pinna 14. The Pinna Braille Staff illusion. Depending on the perspective you're looking at something from, your brain made up of concentric. Try moving your eyes.
No, there's a clear.
For sure that there isn't any.
I should leave those in there. Just
there isn't any.
See if anybody notices.
This effect has baffled research.
It's the result of clearing the throat,
and it's even been shown. And it's even been shown to happen in certain animals.
Sometimes in the morning.
Studies have shown that, which is the way that
I get tons of coughs and I have to clear my throat, and the voice never actually stays where I want it to.
The orientation, the true way that they're not moving at all. The orientation of the shapes in the ring further trick them. Number 13, the aim. If you've ever wanted to illusion. If you've ever wanted people to see you as being taller than the Ames, it's an effect that was first designed by observers look into an Ames room from a carefully other. In reality, though, the floor, while it's slanted, this allows clever position from normal. It means that the true and identify. Your brain interprets everything else within the confines of the room and identifies them in a way that makes the most sense. So the size difference is caused by the principle of the in Lord of the Rings, for example, in several movies to give the impression of vast size differences between characters. In Lord of the Rings, for example, it's how silent movies. We know from our experiences in the world that there are certain principles that can't be overcome, and that's why certain images of impossible shapes are so popular. You've probably seen depictions, but things get true.
Another one.
Real life. This video shows as you'll see, he pours the water. He'll spin. It seems completely This unfortunately isn't. The clip is actually the combination of three pieces of when shown alongside the before figuring out what's actually happening. Number 11, the roof. Our brains don't just show it. Our brains don't just, but it uses contextual analysis but it uses contextual analysis and previously gained knowledge to make adjustments too. This is normal. This is normally very useful when going about our day-to-day lives, but the true extent of the effect becomes clear in this illusion called the ambiguous. The actual roof looks like it's inverted. The fact we know this change. So how is this possible? Well, the answer becomes clear. It's a cleverly folded piece of
Well, 3 takes on that.
It's a cleverly folded piece of card with lines that aren't evenly spaced out at all, and by rotating it and replacing it on top of the garage, it's possible to reverse the effect. So the real one now looks like a complete roof, and so the real one now looks like a completed roof, and the reflected one
A little bit of a plosive there. Big one, you can see it.
looks like a completed roof, and the reflected one first discovered by the
I did this one first thing this morning, I think. This one, and I hadn't really figured out the best optimal placement for my pop filter. I'm using the Sennheiser 41.6 shotgun mic, so it's
the classic.
No matter where I put the damn thing, it always
The classic example, as Herring designed it, is this.
It always gives me a plosive, no matter what I do. That's bad technique on my part.
The theory behind when we look because it takes a short moment for light. The radial lines are
What the hell was I doing there? Breathe.
We're moving forward, but what?
I don't know what the hell. I don't know. I stumbled over something there. Don't know what.
The radial lines are tricking our.
Could be something in the background.
What our brains there.
Sometimes when a car's passing by.
A decision.
I do that. I just sit there. And
what our brains therefore do is.
I just sit there and breathe.
If the vertical lines are fit, and the straight.
I get pissed off at the loud muffler cars that just shake the whole goddamn street.
Number 9. The way that.
Oh, yeah, right there. Yeah, vocal crack.
This is a version of the Munker circle. It's made up of 12 circles. The weird thing about this is that the circles you can't, for example, directly look at any of.
I definitely hear I added a new piece of gear in the booth.
Of course, the real illusion here, and the differences you see are all down to how the heart.
There's a bit of weird mud. I would say probably a little bit more here at 240.
There's a number of other ways that this illusion can be shown with different shapes and objects, which begs the question:
I'm only attenuating
how true is any color that we ever
less
see?
Than 3 dB. So let me try it.
Begs the question: how true is any color that we ever see? Stepping feet. That's being presented and creates moments that aren't actually on a black and white striped background. The problem is and they're both sliding. So why do we a constant rate? So why do we see the step motion? The answer lies in the contrast when the red foot stripes, when the red foot is mainly on white stripes, when it's against mainly black stripes. The effect of the blue across the floor. This is another technique that's taking place. At the center of instead of just seeing white, the effect can completely white. The effect can be taken several steps. You can even create colored circles. Quite why this it's thought possible then that there's a natural certain. Number 6, the girl in a number 6. Going for a hike is a great way to connect with nature. The stakes are low, it's typically free, and you're a field. Number 6, the field. The old saying goes that one of the with a grimace on her face, she appears to be once you see it, it's impossible. Grass. Number 5. Shades of grass. Number 5. Name the animal. How good do you think you are at recognizing animals? Or another, but it's rare to see an animal. That's why this footage, someone's hand is stroking them. Most people will either say they're again, this is the result of many ways, and in many ways there's not enough data to present, and in many ways it could easily be a raven looking up to the more you look at it, however, the clear the birds love having their heads rubbed. Number 4, illusion. This animation is it's known as the spinning dancer. It's a people's perception. This illusion is caused if you were at the ballet. This illusion is if you were seeing ballet, there'd be no doubt of the direction a dancer was turning because you're seeing. This animation, however, is to make things even strange. To begin with, you think you're looking. You can even turn the image completely, as with other impossible 3D version of it too. Nothing seems almost as if the bottom step, almost as if the rules of physics bottom step almost as if the rules of physics have the truth is ultimately the way, and it's the way the steps have been printed onto it. And the number 2, a fata morgana. A fata morgana is, and it's so bizarre that it's named in Italian, visible with and protect and protect. With warmer any object within the but that's just the as well as seemingly raising the height of you can see why and as number 1. Number 1. When you first look finding illusion. When you first look at this image, it is the vast majority of people see this as a series. If you trace your finger around one, it's extremely difficult to see them as circles even when it's used and as an example. System works, and it's an example. It's used by research. It's used. It's used by researchers to, and as a system works, and it's an example of. In this case, it's the tilt of. Actually, what your brain is trying to do is it in, so it's probably actually trying to understand the image. when it's against male. Sword, and the event attracts information about the best feeding spots. Sword is best viewed in this national. Nature is full of surprises. Plexed. From floating balls of lightning to massive river tidal waves, there are countless natural phenomena that defy explanation and leave us marveling at the wonders of the natural world. Number 15. Number 15. Number 15. The Tiantong River tidal bore. The Tiantong River in China runs for about, but it's also very well known. The dramatic and is then funneled by the shape of the river. The end result is the tidal bore. The tidal bore is so well known. This silver dragon, but it's at its on the 18th day of the 8th on the 18th day of the 8th month in the horizon. As it approaches the bay, the tidal bore reaches some years a nearby late sucking. After the silver dragon. After the silver dragon, the placid river dragon churns past. The placid river is current. The placid river current is now the regular occurrence. The regular occurrence. Number 14. BCE. Number 14. Bracken Cave. I'm not talking about 10, 20, or even 1,000 bats. Each year, Bracken Cave in Texas is the summer home to bats. I'm not talking about 10, 20, or even 1,000 bats. Bracken Cave in Texas is the summer home to bats. Bats. Bracken Cave in Texas is the summer home to bats. Bracken Cave in Texas is the summer home to bats. Bracken Cave in Texas is the summer home to bats. Bracken Cave in Texas. Number 14. Bracken Bat Cave. Bracken Cave in Texas is the summer home to bats. I'm not talking about 10, 20, or even 1,000 bats. Each year, about 20 million Mexican free-tailed from each year. Luckily for the bats, meaning these The organization also maintains and these bats make their annual 1,000-mile trip from Mexico to Bracken Cave to give birth to their pups, and 500 of these baby bats can fit in 1 square foot. And 500 of these baby bats can fit on 1 square foot of the cave wall. And when they do finally emerge, it is quite hear anything over the sounds of their wings flap. And 500 of these baby bats can all of a sudden the sky the conservationist can witness this. Number 13, the Everstorm. The Catatumbo River runs from Colombia, also known as the Everlasting Storm. Catatumbo lightning occurs about 8. Catatumbo lightning happens when about 30 lightning strikes per minute. Catatumbo Catatumbo lightning happens when about 30 lightning strikes per minute. Also known as the everlasting storm, Catatumbo lightning happens when about 30 lightning strikes per minute. Also known as the everlasting storm, Catatumbo lightning happens when about 30 lightning strikes per minute. Also known as the everlasting storm, Catatumbo lightning happens when about 30 lightning strikes per minute. Also known as the everlasting storm, Catatumbo lightning happens when about 30 lightning strike. Catatumbo lightning happens when you get about 30 lightning strikes per minute that surround it. Heating and cooling patterns, the waters from the river evaporate, ice crystals, and then the light show begins. It's the perfect rest, and it doesn't happen. Perfect storm, and it doesn't happen anywhere else. In the world, not like this at least, and it's been going on for a while too. I'm talking centuries. The Catatumbo River was once an important trade route, and the ships would use the heavy lightning storms as beacons in the distance. The generated energy emitted from the Catatumbo lightning is enough to power 100 million light bulbs, and the heat generated is 3 times hotter than the surface of the sun. That's one storm you do not want to be stuck in. Number 12. The River of 5 Colors. One of the most bizarre yet gorgeous natural phenomenon in the world, Caño Cristales in Colombia, has been referred to in the world. Colder mountain air, ice crystals form and come into contact with the humid water droplets, and then the light show begins. It's the perfect recipe for what some may call the perfect storm, and it doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. Not like this at least, and it's been going on for a while too. I'm talking centuries. The Catatumbo River was once an important trade route, and the ships would use the heavy lightning storms as beacons in the distance. The generated energy emitted from the Catatumbo lightning is enough to power 100 million light bulbs, and the heat generated is 3 times hotter than the surface of the sun. That's one storm you do not want to be stuck in. The energy that's one storm. Number 12. Want to be stuck in. One of the most bizarre yet Caño Cristales, the river that 5 colors. The river that ran away from despite these accolades. But But during September, when the water level is just right, the river floor, called the Macarena Clave, called the Macarena, during Colombia's wet season that it needs to. During the dry season, there's not enough. It's offset by splotches of. The River of Five Colors is low. More adventurous tourists can now fly into the nearby town of La Macarena. From there, it's a short trip to the south. From there, it's a short tip to Serranía de la Macarena, the national. This dazzling river runs for about, but luckily today the region is the Caño Cristales. Number 11. When swimmers and divers plunge beneath the depths, the last thing they'll expect to find is an underwater river. But that's exactly what just outside of the ruins of one of these openings, the cavern was created by the gaping cavern was once even worshipped, meaning sacred well. Dive a little deeper. How is something like this even possible? Is it? Well, not. This illusion is a product. Well, not quite. This illusion is a product. Different portions of the water in the caverns, as one can imagine, that has to be seen to be believed. Number 10. Kawajan. Indonesia. Indonesia is home to one of the most biodiverse regions in existence. One could spend decades here and still never offer. Really stands above the crowd. And catch a glimpse of and only adding to the spectacular scene of it is a far cry from the typical. The biggest culprit behind they also with a pH level of 0 risk. That same magma chamber, and when the gas condenses and falls, it dyes the lake to the ground. It dyes the lake surrounding stone to the ground. It dyes the lake. Kawajan may be a nightmare. Blue light. While it's best not to get too close to the oddity. Number 9. Methane lakes. Who doesn't remember blowing? Methane lakes. Who doesn't remember blowing bubbles as a kid and all the simple joy it brought us? Well, the frozen bubbles can be seen during the and it looks Canada, and it looks like thousands, but in time, and it looks like thousands. This phenomenon surface, but in time, this phenomenon occurs. Oddity, but because the bubbles are made that much methane, even a lit match or lighter, and if explosive. So while the frozen becoming. So while the frozen bubbles of a eventually the ice will begin to melt. Brights. If you have this dripping red area, these freaky reds, it's in on camera especially because of the light camera, especially because if you really want to sneak if you do manage to are slim to none. But it's at night when because the waters so if you do visit the coming from it can look like an alien, it can look like lights. That's awesome. People have been. So then, who was right? Also known as they creating these eventually explode. They create these giant balls of fire that can be as small as a golf. Creating these explode. Creating these.
So that would be me. That would be my bad. I'm sorry. Thank you for telling me that, Micah. I must have muted my mic at some point. I know I have a hotkey. I have a hotkey set up to mute and unmute my mic. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, I was just talking to myself the whole time there. Great. Nothing important. Just talking about audio editing.
Scientists have been.
Thank you.
Scientists have been so upset.
Okay, good, yeah. It's been a while since you caught a stream. Well, I'm glad you're back, man. I remember your name.
Cold War. Luckily for everyone, that's not how the weather works.
Yeah, it's. I'm taking it easy today, just relaxing and doing a little editing. I got a batch of jobs to send to the Top 5's channel, and I'm going to get those over today, but I'm just trying to take it easy. Is it this morning? Or it's still technically the afternoon for me, but that's okay. We're going slow today.
In hopes of where millions of the ocean in hopes of finding a.
I gotta remember not to hit. I should change that hotkey, that shortcut. I think I have it on my plus key on my keyboard.
But along the way, this migration has become and if you can get it, this might event, man. If you can.
I don't know why I gotta stop doing that to my edits.
Matt, if you can get a good and safe spot up high, you're the local news. Safely. The local news.
Yeah, those live ads it's been interesting. I just hope I don't look like an idiot to half the people that watch the episodes, but I don't want my face, doing anything kind of stupid to make the sponsors not want to sponsor the channel anymore. Like, who's this idiot? Who's this old fat idiot? With the good voice, doing what was it, Morgan and Morgan? That was a weird one. I'm like, why are we having a sponsor with a lawyer? And then I'm like, okay, it makes sense. Hey, lawyer. But it was pretty good. Hopefully it's not too crazy.
Add to the sites in the world and add to the...
That's kind of fun. It's kind of fun doing the little talking heads. I had to buy for the camera, I had to buy a teleprompter. Well, I didn't have to, but it was just making my life so much easier to edit.
By the phase of the moon.
But I realized, and you guys can probably see it in the videos, the teleprompter that I have is small, and my camera's fairly close. I mean, it's what, 3 feet roughly from my face, so you can see my eyes. You can see my eyes moving a little bit while I read some of the script. It makes editing a lot easier, but it also looks kind of weird. So I've been thinking about upgrading the camera setup so where I can set it way back, because I got another 10 feet back behind maybe 7 or 8 feet maybe behind the camera, so I can set up the camera, zoom in, get nice and tight, and that way it won't look like I'm reading, but I will need a bigger teleprompter. But the camera that I want to get is just too expensive. I got to stop spending money like that. It's just what is it? It's a Sony camera. The A7, I think it's the A7 III or the A7 IV. Alpha. I don't know if they call it Alpha 7 IV. But it's that with a nice prime lens that I want to get. But that'll give me a lot of high definition. But they don't really mind. They don't care that it looks like a webcam. I don't care either. Whoops.
The bleeding.
The smaller soldier ad guy. Oh, that's I forgot his name. He's fairly new voice on the channel. Jason? Justin? Shit. I forgot his name. Oh, I'm embarrassed. I think it's Jason. I'd have to look up. We have like a work platform that we go on. I got to look it up. He's really very energetic, his voice. It's very almost over the top energetic. Like there's so much energy he puts into it. And to me, it doesn't really work with the little guy, the little animated guy. It doesn't really work with that kind of character, I guess.
The bleed.
Yeah, it's weird. His sound is just intense. It's almost it's like it hits you like a ton of bricks. He comes in and boom. Maybe it's the processing. Maybe it's his mic or something. But it's really intense. Lots of sound coming out of
the bleeding.
The bleeding. I'm just old and just kind of. My voice is just dry, and just plain.
With deep red. The bleeding.
And it gets kind of weird.
The bleeding
times.
Tooth.
It's a little easier to listen to, I guess.
The bleeding tooth. So
yeah, but I don't mind. I like doing the live reads. Hopefully people just realize, all right, this is a guy actually talking about the ad. That must be pretty good. That HelloFresh one,
the sanguine
that we just recently did. Did I do it yet? HelloFresh, yeah. That was actually interesting because the sponsor sent me a couple of weeks worth of food, and I got to prepare it and test it out and do everything. That's actually a pretty nice program that they have set up. Lots of fresh food that gets delivered right to you.
Fire tornado.
Pretty good. I mean, it's a little bit expensive compared to going to the store yourself, but so much healthier, and it's so convenient too. So, but the scripts they give me are kind of filled with buzzwords and a lot of marketing stuff. Would it be better if it was just me talking to the audience saying, you know what, I tried this stuff and it's freaking great, because they send it right to my door. All I got to do is read the card, the recipe, get everything ready to go, and 30 minutes later I got this awesome dinner, and the stuff tasted pretty damn good, especially the sandwiches. The, what was that? It was a balsamic mozzarella pesto sandwich thing. Oh, those were really good. But I mean, you gotta put in the effort to make it, though.
Yes.
I mean, would a read like that be better than a read, of just reading the marketing material? Who knows?
Currents currents of hot.
All I know
once
is
the
it's
fire-
fun. It's fun to stick my face in front of people that never knew. Oh yeah, that guy's face. Look, he doesn't look anything like he sounds.
And then the winds.
Which is always nice. I love when people say things like that.
Some of the
Look at this guy. Oh, look at that
Some of
guy.
the
He's a dick. Look at it. He looks like an
some of
idiot.
the contents, and when the winds move up to a, and then the winds can move up to, and when the
You've had every box, similar service, good, but it's a bit pricey. It is a bit pricey. Yeah, it is true. You need to have a pretty decent handle on your finances to be able to afford it. If you've got the money, it's a nice service thing. I guess that goes with that. You know what? I guess if you could say that, if you got the money, that goes with everything. But yeah, if it was a little cheaper, it would be insanely good. But for what you're getting, that's the thing. For what you're getting, so you don't have to do, especially saving time. I mean, I live in a small state, so if I have to go driving to get food, it's quick. But in larger states, I can see why if you wanted to do this and you had access to this program, it would be pretty good. You don't have to go driving everywhere to
What
get
could
everything.
possibly be worse than witnessing or falling victim to a tornado? How about 2 tornadoes?
2 tornadoes.
Twin
tornadoes. Let me see here. Oh, yep, see? So, let's see what... So we should be at... Oh, I didn't master this one at negative 18. You guys are watching this behind my thing here. Hold on. This is... I scanned for loudness just to see what the overall loudness is. It's going to be a little too loud, I think. Oh, yeah, way too loud. So let me lower this. This one... It should take a few seconds, but it'll definitely come down to probably about peak around -5, maybe 2 or 3 dB, which is fine. Yeah, there we go. So not too much. So that should be right at 18, -18 lufs. Yeah, it's a little bit quieter, but that's totally fine. Even the noise again. I have to get that channel strip back set up in the booth. Oh, that's even more. Yeah, that's even more. Let's just kill it. Let's just crush it. Oops. Let's just crush it down. So while that's doing that, let me finish this one. You're joining the Navy. Uh-oh. Now you'll get that service on a boat. You're not going to get that in Guam. No, probably not. Besides, I'm sure the food would probably be pretty decent in Guam.
And another one in Kansas just 2 years.
Gotta be good.
And while a twin tornado may be...
At least you won't have to eat... Actually, yeah, I guess you might have to eat some MREs, I guess. Do they do MREs in the Navy? In the Navy.
And the prospect, a single tornado on its own is not to be trifled with. And the prospect of 2 happening at the same time,
What was I doing there?
And the prospect of 2 happening at the same... Their boots. Sun. The black sun, or sort... Thousands of...
Sol. So I can never say it, but yeah.
As the sky takes on the... Every year in spring and go on their way to France and they nearly Sort-Sul.
It's the S.
Sort-Sul.
Jutland.
Sort-Sul. And in spring, when the starlings returning to...
The starlings.
When the starlings return to the north,
That's
make a
right.
stop at Wadensee. The entire phenomenon where it feels...
It's how authentic do you go with a pronunciation? That's the question.
Just before the...
That's the question. Oh, no, you won't have to do them? Maybe if your boot's in the ground like a corpse. Yeah, Corman, I guess you'd have to. Seabees. Yeah, I guess the Seabees, too. Yeah, I forgot about the Seabees.
In their attempt to starling start...
Have we ever done Seabees? Have we ever talked about the Seabees on Simple History?
So do people watch... So do the people...
I don't think so.
So do the people who watch it from the ground at a... Starlings travel in Sort-Sul is best... And the event park. And the event attracts at a time. I'll see y'all next time.
Y'all. Oh, I put a y'all in there. I put a yawl in there. Oops. I'll see y'all next time. I gotta watch it with that. 2 down home. All right, let me do this first and see what happens. Let me take it down. See, it's already down below 70 when I'm recording, but since I don't have a gate set up in the effects rack, it just goes nutty crazy with amplifying the background noise. That compressor doesn't really help. The C2 does a lot better job, especially since I can set up a sidechain for the low frequency, so it doesn't really touch them. But I think that's a sidechain at the bottom. Yeah, that's a sidechain feature that compressor has at the bottom. But while this is doing this one should be completely, totally done. And let me take out this crap. We don't need that. So yeah, so let me load up audio, that isotope, and I'm going to actually see how far the DC offset or the phase is on that, how off it is. So we'll save it as an MP3. And this one, yeah, we'll just get rid of this. So that's trimmed. We're going to load that up. Let me go back here. We can close that one out. Let me go back into here. And that was, oh yeah, the Khmer Rouge. I completely forgot about that one. I redid, or I had to do a second take because I added some new hardware shit to my booth. And we're doing one about the Khmer Rouge and Pol Pot. I don't think we've done one specifically about the Khmer Rouge, but what a story that one is. That was well written. And hopefully the animation will be aggressive enough to convince people that some of those socialist, really crazy ideas just don't work. And what happens is you just end up with marginalized groups that just get slaughtered. I mean, yeah, that ain't happy. All right, so not Life Under the Khmer Rouge. Simple history. Got too much stuff in here. Top 5. Whoops, yeah, right here. 2023. Optical illusions. So we'll see. So we'll check phase. Let's see how out of phase it is. Yeah, that's I gotta figure out what that is. That may be the compressor, I think. It's throwing it out. Yeah, that's quite a bit to render out. That phase alignment, most people are never going to hear it, but if you A/B back and forth between the two different versions, you can hear there's a strange sort of hollowness. I don't know if that's the right word, but there's a phase discrepancy that you can sort of detect. At least I can, and that's the thing. I can hear it, and with that much, usually when if I have everything balanced out and all the EQs are set properly and the phase is set to like a dynamic phase or a linear phase, it doesn't affect it that much. This one, I got to figure that out. I'm not sure what's causing it. It's probably the actually, no, come to think of it, it could be I have a parametric EQ or a graphic equalizer in my signal chain, but it's bypassed when I record. It's completely bypassed, and there's no gain through that channel strip. So I wonder if I'm going to try removing that to see if that's what's causing it. Hopefully that's not what's causing it, but all right, so we're done there. Now we're going to do, and this is the last one. How long have I been streaming? Oh, this is bad. Let's see. So an hour and a half, 30 minutes. So we've been doing this for 30 minutes per edit, which is double normally what I do. So this normally four of these would take me maybe an hour or so to do, about 15 minutes each to do each one of these edits. Khmer Rouge, brutal, killing people with glasses. Yeah, that's it. We go into a lot of the details about some personal stories between some people that were sort of not spared, but the people who survived, there's a prison called S21, and there were some people who were spared. I see, that's the thing. They really weren't spared. They just survived, probably by just sheer luck. But so many people were just killed and brutalized there that that story. Oh yeah, look at the background noise in this one. That story is just. It's just. You can see some interesting parallels to what's sort of happening in the world with propaganda these days. They were they were just torturing these people to get these fake confessions out of them to implicate the CIA, that they were a CIA spy or an operative or whatever the case may be. And forcing somebody to adopt a specific tale or an agenda or even force them to lie, excuse me, is it's kind of telling what happened to those people. Not only that, I think we talked about, was he a British guy? Yeah, John DeWorst. Oh, excuse me. Something's in there. There's this guy, British guy, John DeWorst. He was on a boat, and I think he met up with somebody, a New Zealander and somebody else, and they were in a boat and they got captured. They went too close to the Cambodian border. They were captured. One of them was shot by this sort of Navy, this Cambodian Navy squad or whatever it was, and they interrogated him and tortured them, and they basically told him, "Hey, yeah, you're part of the CIA. You need to tell us. You're part of the CIA. You're going to say anything if you're being tortured." So, yeah, that wasn't a good thing. And that's just a little bit. We talk about the killing fields and all that stuff. It was just, that was a rough one. When I read it, I had to read through it first, because that's not what I'm going to do cold. Like simple history scripts, I do not read cold. The top fives, I can read them cold for the most part, because they're not dramatic. They don't need to be they don't need to be over the top, kind of deadpan serious. So you can take some liberties there. But those I have to read. When I read it, I'm like, oh God, what kind of tone am I going to have when I'm reading this? And I went with a very neutral tone. I didn't want to be too deep voice kind of guy. I didn't want to be that guy when I was reading it. So I tried to keep it as neutral as I could, because I think at the end, actually you probably hear it.
So join me.
At the end, you'll hear me say, Pol Pot was interviewed or something, and the last line of the episode was, it'll be, he was asked about, did he regret anything? And he says, no, what I did for my country. And the way that I said it, when I was listening back to it, it sounded a little like almost personal.
Please, let's begin.
Like I actually felt that I may have sort of interjected a little bit more of my own opinions than I should have. But hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm not going to worry about it. Beyonce. All right, let's do this. Let's take this back. I got to save this. I got to save this down by 1. And multiband, I'm going to leave alone. This is on linear phase. I'm going to try natural phase. I usually don't like to do that, but this I can't change to have any kind of phase. DS I know is oversampled, yes. And the limiter. The limiter is oversampled, it's just 2. DS, yeah, breath control. Breath control is nothing. That's just basically a smart gate.
Beyonce is a singer, actor, and philanthropist, and has been a household name since the 1990s. And while she may have one of the world's longest and most impressive...
Oh, whoops. All right, so we're good here. I think I can process this. Well, let me just make sure. Yeah, we're on 5. Actually, you know what? While we're here, let me change this to natural. See if that has any effect. That's right. Yeah, that's good. See if that has any effect on that phase.
How appropriate.
Beekeeping.
How appropriate for the queen bee, huh? Well, when the world came to a... And for Beyonce in a 2020... In a 2020...
I must have did this.
2020... And while that may not... And that was...
I did this last night. I think. This definitely is not my...
Ear. That's a sweet deal.
Yeah.
Deal.
My pacing.
Beyonce has also said two of her children. Beyonce has also said...
Beyonce. So let's look for some creative editing here.
And while that may not sound like much, how appropriate for the Queen Bee. Beyonce is a singer.
All right, so we're going to try a little creative editing. Beyonce. O.
They.
So we're going to do this. And we're going to go back. Where was it? This one?
And while that may not sound like much, multiplying her and her family. Beyonce.
So
was also Beyonce was also
ooh.
So Beyonce was also...
Oh boy, I might have to re-record that one. With this mic, it never sounds right. It never sounds right.
So was...
See, it's the Beyonce. I need the A where the O is.
Beyonce.
Whoa.
Beyonce was also...
Oh, that's close. That's close. Let's make sure we're deleting at the same peak amplitude, which is roughly there.
They was also...
Ooh, that's a little rough. So is it that?
Was also...
Oh, yeah, you know what? Let's reduce this. No, that doesn't work.
Beyonce.
Yeah, it's that bit of... This is a tricky edit.
Was also...
Nah, too much.
Was...
There's not enough.
Was...
Beyonce, yeah, there's not enough. There's not enough of it.
It was also said... Beyonce was also...
Oh, no, it's terrible.
Beyonce was also said two of her children...
Actually, that's not too bad.
Beyonce was also said two of her children were born with some...
So let me try this by reducing
Beyonce was also said two of...
Yeah, it's just a hard cut right there.
Beyonce was also said two of her children were... That's a sweet deal. Beyonce was also said two of her children...
That works for me. That works for me. The only I don't think anybody's going to notice it, except me and anybody watching this stream right now. That's it. That's the only people that are going to notice that.
Some will even tell you that natural...
I hate doing that, but recording on this microphone and the microphone that I have in the booth...
Properties. Maybe that's why she's able to... Number 14.
It just doesn't sound right. It just does not sound... Oh, yeah, whoops. It just does not sound right.
Number 15.
Number 15. Do I want... Actually, yeah, you know what? Let me just go back here and take a sample. 120. Yeah, we'll take 125. Whoops, let me go back. So, yeah, still the same phase issues. In fact, actually, the phase issues look worse. So I'm going to undo that and go back to, linear phase. That definitely looks worse. Yeah, so I'm going to figure that out. I guess it doesn't hurt since I can adjust the phase after the fact, after the processing fact in that. Actually, I got to look that up. I got to see if I adjust phase offset within Audition. I know there's a DC offset function, but I don't actually know if that works. I've never really tried it. Oh well, I guess we can mess around with it. To be honest, I know nothing about audio, just like the calm nature of the stream. It is. That's what I was going for. I was going for a calm, just some idiot talking about audio. That's really what I was going for.
Number 14. So timeless.
Let me know if there's any weird audio issues anymore either, or if anything's too loud or sounds crazy.
The former heavy. That is
Boy,
that's a 70.
I'm now hearing that sound again that I hate. That boxy sound. This 240 bullshit.
5% knockout rate. But the fighter has a...
This.
Tyson has been into pigeons well before his time in the ring. He took a liking to birds at a very young age, taking them as pets and taking care of them. It's even rumored that the first punch he ever threw was one over his birds.
Yeah, right there. I'll leave it at that. I've got to stop dicking around with it. Would be able to give me good advice. You know what? Is it constant tinnitus? Every now and then, I get a little bit of tinnitus.
But the fight,
just from overstressing my ears. Usually need a break. I can only maybe go, I don't know, maybe at the most 4 hours with the cans on doing this, which is rare for me to spend 4 hours just editing nonstop. Which actually, what am I up to? What are we doing? I can't even see it. Almost 2 hours. Yeah, so I got another couple hours of listening to where my ear fatigue.
It's even rumored that the first.
So yeah.
It's even rumored that the first punch he ever threw was over one of his birds when an older kid allegedly killed one of But Pet.
Come on, paste.
Pet.
This mouse is starting to die on me,
Despite being one of the
think.
best American, it's not uncommon. Despite being one of the best American athletes in history, Tyson has had a pretty rough life. It's not uncommon for humans. Tyson just found these feelings as of 2019.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's quiet ringing. Yeah, every now and then I'll get a. Actually, wait. Let's try. Let me see if I can trigger. Let's see if we can trigger. So in here, I think I've narrowed this down. This frequency. I think it was 3,700. Wait, let me see. 3,700. I think it was 3,700. I think. Yeah, there we go. 3,700. This. Oh, yeah, that's got to kill everybody. Jesus, I'm so sorry for doing that. It's higher than that. I think it was, that's where, yeah, it was higher than that. I think it was 4,700. It might have been 4,700. 4,700. I get that in my ear. Yeah, I'm sorry. I totally screwed everybody. It was, it's that frequency that I get. It's funny because it's every, maybe, I don't know, if I go over a few hours with the headphones on, I get that.
As of 20, that he and his family.
I really hate
that he and his family.
I'm going to do this. I am going to do this. This is really annoying me. What I'm hearing in my own ears. Why is that there? So yeah, let me take that out again.
Family tend to every single day, and
too
he
much.
knows each bird individually. The man has become a bit of an expert, even giving talks and classes about how to care for the birds. The hobby may be a bit bizarre. But it's also quite beautiful. Number 13, Tracy Morgan's fish tanks. Tracy Morgan is undoubtedly one of the funniest people on the planet, so it makes sense that he's got one of the goofiest hobbies around. Morgan lives the...
All right, I'm happy with that for now. Until I'm going to see if that actually affects me. If I just get used to it and then I start hearing it again.
The hobby may be a bit bizarre, but it's also quite beautiful.
Yeah, I still hear it. It's my brain is just adapting to it.
Number 13, Tracy.
I just hear my booth.
Tanks. Tracy Morgan is on...
That's amazing.
Morgan lives the high life in his New Jersey mansion with extravagant...
That's amazing.
Fish tanks all around the interior.
I gotta stop that. That's obsessing over it. Just obsessing over the audio chain.
One tank is literally gar.
But it's funny, I just hear it so much.
Then when you go to the back of the property, you'll see his 20,000-gallon tank that's home to a gorgeous coral reef and a whopping 8 sharks who won't manage to live in harmony without tearing each other apart. Can it get any crazier than that? Well, when it comes to Tracy Morgan, yeah. The crown jewel of his whole... The crown jewel... Then when you go to the back of tearing each other apart... The crown jewel... The crown jewel of his comparatively, comparatively, comparatively speaking, but it's sharks. With a giant, with a giant, with a giant.
Oh, thank you. You know what? Okay, thank you for saying that. My bad. The I must have a hotkey. What am I doing? I'm going to have to I got to reassign that hotkey in OBS. I have to reassign that. I have it as numberpad plus. But I must be hitting that. Why the hell would I be hitting that? I'm going to just, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to take it off. Can I set it as a toggle? So hotkeys, or no, is it numberpad? Oh, you know what? I think I know what I'm doing. It's numberpad minus, I think is what I have it as. And I think one of my hotkeys uses, there it is, numberpad minus. All right, trash, goodbye. Oh, can I not do it while I'm streaming? Oh, you bastards. All right, so you know what I'm going to do? How about this? I'm going to do page up. No, wait. Home. Home. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Yes, no, yeah, my stupid brain just doesn't want to work. I should have figured that out, that having that hotkeys are such a challenge. So I'm a gamer, and I've got hotkey profiles, and I got a mouse that has hotkey profiles, but I forget to keep changing them. But I got Discord in the background, I got editing software, it's like I got the OBS shortcuts. I have so many hotkeys that are common with using Shift and Control and Alt. I'm sort of running out of hotkeys that doesn't screw something up. It's gonna screw something up if I don't set a hotkey. Like it would have to be like Control Alt Home would have to work, and even then it would probably screw something up. Look, that's 26 off. Wow. Yeah, much better. Much better.
Number 9, methane lakes.
Oh yeah.
Who doesn't remember blowing bubbles as a kid and all?
I gotta look into that. That's on the agenda for today. For later tonight, I will go through and figure out why the hell I'm getting so much phase issues with this. Very strange. Question. Oh wait, my friends. Have you all thought about doing a video on the OST troops of Nazi Germany and their role in World War II? Well, what specifically the OST? We never got into the weeds that deep by doing individual types of troops. I'm not sure why. I know the idea is still around. That idea is still around. But there's nothing, I can tell you this, there's nothing on the agenda right now, at least for the next couple of months anyway, to go into that sort of level of detail with OST. So, I want to do the country factions again. Like, I want to do those sort of again, only because I think it needs its own dedicated, consistent sort of look. And I'm curious, well, if you wanted those, like, let's say we were to do those again, what's the most important thing actually, this is a weird question. What's the most important thing in the Simple History episodes for you? Is it watching? Is it listening to me talk about this stuff? Is it the way the script is written? Is it simply seeing the animations, or is it simply is it the animation? Would just a static figure, almost like a cross section video, we show an animated soldier, and then you sort of go piece by piece, maybe the uniforms or the flags or the insignias or even the weapons. What's more important? What would you want to see? What did you like about the original ones?
This man he's got the guy's got a lot of money.
Oh, burp.
He's got an incredibly impressive art collection, and the guy's got a lot of money, and he certainly knows how to spend it. This man has he's got an incredibly what started as buying works from Monet to Manet. Cohen purchased a David Geffen painting for $52 million, a Picasso piece for $150 million, and a Jeff Koons sculpture for $91.1.
I think it's that multiband. It just all works together. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, honestly, I've had this conversation with a few people. What makes it successful? What makes the channel, what makes it successful? And I think it's a combination of a couple of things. One, the animation is very simple, like Simple History. The animation is very simple. The graphics are very simple. It's not overly complicated. And it being simple with, you take a very deep, or you take a masculine voice. I hate saying masculine, but you take a masculine, somebody with a voice that's authoritative and has a lot of gravitas, and you combine those two things. Something that seems on the surface when you look at it, it seems kind of almost too simple, and then all of a sudden there's a voice like Brian Laszlo. Brian has a great voice too, and those our two voices sort of work well to get a point across of a simple thing, and it seems to work well. It's like a juxtaposition. I was just talking with my sister about this. There's a juxtaposition of having a very authoritative sounding voice, and then you take a very simple thing like animation that's kind of directed at younger people, and it just works for some reason. I think that's the draw.
The hedge fund.
But I never know what specifically is there. Like if I just started creating my own, videos, what would they look like? Like what would my art style look like? And it probably wouldn't work with my own voice. So the combination of, did I completely skip over something? No. The combination of my voice and his art style,
Why? Well,
definitely works.
Why? This Pickled by Art Mogul Charles, 1992 by Art Mogul.
Art Mogul? I think I had a problem saying Art Mogul.
By Art Mogul Charles Saatchi, entitled The Physical Living. But
oh yeah, compressor. Let's do vocal. I'll go 8. 220.
By the time it caught Cohen's eye, the price shot up dramatically. When Cohen bought the piece for an undisclosed amount, media
Amen, Mountain Man. Yeah, there is a flow. And I like to think, and I'll tell you can we talk about the flow of a Simple History episode? So, as a voice actor, as a narrator, I'm I guess untraditional voice acting or untraditional workflow when it comes to narrating a Simple History episode. So, for example, actually, let me see if I have it in my recent. No, I don't. Oh, yeah, Life Under the Khmer Rouge. So this is a session. This is a Khmer Rouge session. This is the one that I just recorded.
Life Under the Khmer Rouge, Pol Pot, Famine, and S-21, 1975 to 1979.
So this particular episode...
When the Vietnamese army captured Phnom Penh, the capital of Cambodia, from the Khmer Rouge in 1979, they found the city in a terrible state. And among the horrors they came across was a former high school that had been turned into a prison and was known as Security Prison 21, or just S21.
So, well, it's like I can hear us a little bit of nasal clicks. I fixed all that in post, but this file, this format like this, all the editing that I did for pacing, the time in between sentences, I put all that in there, and they go with it. They use my voiceover pacing 99% of the time. So the flow that you're talking about is interesting that you mentioned that, because it comes directly from just me putting in what I think the time needs to be between ideas, between paragraphs, between sentences, things like that. And they almost use it. It's kind of used like a scratch track. And it's very rare that a voice actor or a narrator will do that. Will edit for pacing. They just edit to clean it up, to clean up the spaces, to reduce noise and all that fun stuff. And it is kind of rare. So I'm glad to hear that it's the pacing, or at least that's something that is contributing to its success, which I've been very lucky to them for these guys not, chopping it up into, putting in super long pauses or cutting it up. Like I have another channel that I work with, the Culture Mafia, and those guys, they do like to edit down what I give them. And I have a very standard, usually half a second between paragraphs, or a half a second between sort of different ideas in a paragraph, maybe a second, if that, between paragraphs to sort of give pacing and sort of to give a breather. They like to cut out all the silences to attract that, that short attention span, younger person who might have trouble, listening to a lot of pauses and tempo changes and stuff like that. And it totally works, but it doesn't work for me, and it wouldn't work on Simple History. Like if you had that, that modern bit where all the silence is cut out, all the silence between the words are cut out, and all the breaths and breaks and all of that stuff is just a constant stream of a person talking, it wouldn't work with me. It kind of does, but it just wouldn't work with Simple History, because you want to be immersed. You want to listen to a story and just enjoy it. And by cutting out a lot of that silence or pacing, it's a bit of a challenge. But then when I do long form e-learning or long form content, above an hour, the pacing is dramatically slower. Like if you listen to audiobooks, the pacing is very slow, and the words per minute is 90 to 100 words per minute that's spoken, and it can be a little disorienting for a person who's expecting to have a lot of engagement and energy right off the bat. That's what it would feel like. Yeah, those corporate videos. Yeah, every second counts when you're paying for advertising space and stuff like that. But it's it doesn't work in a. It's funny. The first, if you go way back when Simple History first started, the videos were, I think we were trying to keep them under 5 minutes, and then the whole platform sort of changed to where longer form content was more profitable, and it was just better for people to enjoy. And then we started shooting for we started shooting for between 10 to 15. Now we're down to we try to shoot for between 8 and maybe 11, in that range, for the most part, for most of them. Except the compilation stuff. Paris Hilton. But as she got older, the former TV star takes. So you'd think. All right, let me close that stuff. Hobbies, but for Hilton, that's one of Hilton's favorite pastimes is frog hunting. That is, going around her multiple ranches, finding frogs, placing them in her butt, finding frogs, placing them with ranches just outside. With ranches just outside of Oakland, California, another in Nevada, and her own private island. There are sure to be plenty of frogs. Yeah, it's the low end. It's the low end on that one. I honestly had completely forgotten about her up until this little bullet point, or this little top whatever she's at. Actually, what number was she? What number was Paris Hilton?
Number 11, Paris Hilton.
Number 11, yeah.
Especially in Europe.
I've completely forgotten about
Seeing
her.
as how she
And her friend. Richie? No, Nicole Richie, I think? Yeah.
Plus.
Completely forgotten about them. I mean, they're basically
Ability.
just attention whores for the most part. I mean, come on. I mean, well, they're doing a hell of a lot better than I am, so I can't complain. But, you know, it's obvious that they have a certain appeal, and that appeal is towards a certain audience.
From long.
So, yeah. Maybe I should release a sex video.
During a radio interview.
No, that would be a bad idea.
In this specific... So how did... Swift with her. So how did she get that?
I think my voice was... Oh, yeah, I can hear it. My voice on this one was weird.
So how did she get that hair? Ask and you shall... The fellow singer's a... Ask and you shall receive.
She makes... Wait, she makes music now? Oh. I don't even want to know.
And who knows?
I know in that thing we were saying, yeah, she's a DJ or a producer or whatever, but okay. I mean,
living in Perry's purse.
I want to say I'm a little...
And who knows who else is... And who knows who else...
I know, I don't want to say I'm a composer, but I screw around with music composition from time to time. But the tools out there are so easy now.
Perry's purse.
To, you can make some decent sounding stuff with a little training. A little training and the right sound sample packs. So
the Codex
Lester.
The Codex Lester, or the obviously something, but it was given its current name.
Stars Are Blind. Wow, it's the top 100. Wow. Yeah, I'm almost afraid.
The Earl of Leicester. The manuscript currently holds the record for the 5th highest sales price of any book, and was sold to Bill Gates at a Christie's auction.
Christie's. I was having problems saying Christie's.
And was sold to Bill.
Yes, look at that. 10 times.
And was sold to billionaire Bill Gates at a Christie's auction on...
I think it was the alliteration of billionaire Bill Gates at a Christie's auction. I think that's what throws me. Anytime there's an S after a certain like an S after another S, that always throws me. Like, what was it? Such as. If I say such as, and then the next word begins with an S, my brain doesn't... I can't do it.
And was sold...
It just... it sucks.
For a whopping $30 million. In New York for a whopping 11th November 1994.
This is the one, 11th November.
And the manuscript currently holds the record for the 5th highest sales price of any book, and was sold to billionaire Bill Gates at a Christie's auction on November 11th, 1994 in New...
That one took me. Took me a few. It was everything.
Historic.
It was the alliteration. It was the date. It was all of that stuff.
You know.
This audio, my ears are dead. I can't even get it to sound right with that adjustment.
Just the typical thoughts of a genius. But don't think that this old codex is just sitting on Gates's bookcase next to computer programming for dummies. The Codex Lester has been unbound with each page in...
Yeah, it's just...
just
ear fatigue. I've got it. So what am I, 3 hours in yet? No, 2.5 hours in. Or 2.25 hours in? 2.25 hours in, I've already got the ear fatigue.
The Codex Lester it's put on public display once a year. The Codex Lester was put on 19 in Florence. Bill Gates is also... Codex Lester it's put on public display once a year in a different city around the world for the 500th anniversary. The Codex Lester was put on display from October 20... Bill Gates.
It's like taking a trip. Ugh. The Pickle song? Okay, I won't look it up. All right.
X.
I won't pick it up.
Jolie.
I think the last stuff I was listening to was Devin Townsend. A friend of mine was interested in hearing some of him. He's an interesting guy.
But according to an interview, Jolie first began to sharpen her skills.
Jolie.
Her mom,
Lara Croft. She was a good Lara Croft. I didn't like that second one that they got. The woman from Rogue One. I can't remember her name.
So the real question. So the
Laura, I mean, obviously, it was a lot different of a person.
it's a safe bet.
Those two actresses, yeah, they were
Number 7.
very different
Number 7.
physically.
Dawson. Rosario Dawson has been
Yeah, Angelina Jolie just looked
Jedi.
like Lara Croft. She just looked like
There's
her.
more to it. Rosario
Rosario Dawson.
is known for being a
That's going to be a good show. Ahsoka.
In fact, if
kinda
you've been-
are-
Dawson
is
is
it
a huge
Ahsoka? I
Trekkie
think it's just called Ahsoka, I think.
for those who aren't in
Looking
the know,
forward to that.
Klingon-
That'll be
The
fun.
language itself is while
Mandalorian 3, or the season 3, ended. The last episode was good, but that season was a little weird for me.
duration of Star Trek, ideally playing duration of Star Trek, ideally a dimension hop
Oh my god, a dimension hopping Q.
of Star Trek, ideally playing the part of a dimension
hopping crazy.
a
I think I
dimension
did
hopping
this.
being and beloved. Here's hoping.
Yeah.
6. Tom.
Yeah, that'd be cool if she would play a Q on Star Trek.
They do take up a lot less space. Tom Hanks told the New York just for some since he was a teenager. So just for some perspective, Tom 60s.
God, are we done yet? Can I have lunch yet?
But maybe
No. Not yet.
in a world where typing is autocorrect
Oh, have I turned off my mic yet? No, I have not. That's a good thing.
and emojis can be lifting and emojis can
That's going to be an interesting edit. Right there.
and emojis can convey complex.
What's this voiceover for, by the way, if you may ask? This is for another channel that I do called Top Fives. Even though technically the channel is called Top Fives, but we do Top 15 of everything. Because at one point we were doing Top Fives, and that was when Josh, he's the owner of the channel, he used to narrate the Top Fives, I think. And I think he got up to Top 10s. And then he just wanted it was that change. It was like the same thing, simple history change, where we were having shorter content. It seemed to be more profitable to go longer content. And he changed over to doing, I think, top 10s. I think I did a few top 10s in the very beginning. This has been going on for like 3 or 4 years. And it was good. Top 10. We got a lot of, there are some really popular videos that we do of these, top 10 countdowns and stuff. But we switched over to top 15s, and it's just been top 15s for the last few years. So it's, even though the channel's called Top Fives, we do top 15 lists of, everything. I've done one a day for the last 3 years. He puts out a video every single day of this kind of content where it's looking at just, God, I've done at least, I'll put it this way, at least seven scripts a week, at least. So at least a video every day for the last 3 years. So they've done 1,000 of these, 1,000 of these videos so far. There's a lot of repeat content. There's a lot of consistent topics that he likes to talk about, where the writers will get together and they'll do, or the writers will put out content based on. Actually, I'm not sure what they're based on, how they come up with the ideas, but like naval ships and airplanes, and what's a good one? Oh, like. What was that? The cranes. I love the cranes. The cranes one, and a lot of similar content, but they're diverse enough, and we add in new content frequently enough. At least every week, there's a new video topic that we haven't done, which is interesting. So that's been pretty interesting. That's what this is for. Simple history I did yesterday. I try not to do any streams with simple history stuff in there, because I don't want to spoil anything, because I know they're popular. I guess I could, but I do the voiceovers. They're usually the voiceovers done at least a few weeks ahead of when the video actually gets released. Sometimes it can actually be a while. We've gotten a lot better at that. I remember in 2019, there were so many videos that we were recording, because the team was much smaller back then, but I was recording videos, and it was months and months between when it was going to go live and when I recorded it. and I had upgraded my audio setup and upgraded a lot of microphone stuff and channel strips, and I completely just get lost in how I can get it to sound the same if I had to do a new line or something. And I tried to after that, I tried to standardize the audio process.
A number like that.
And I can't get it right. I'm always dicking around with it.
Expensive vessel.
I'm just
Number
always,
like that.
always messing around with it. I gotta stop that. It's fun, but it can be annoying. That's why everything sounds so different from long ago. That at least in my ears, it sounds so much different.
The Challenger circuit. And while the bells and whistles of the deep sea Challenger may not be at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Number 4. Rosie O'Donnell. Step
Rosie
into the
O'Donnell.
and former guest, and you'll find the wall apartment, and you'll find former guest stars of her talk show with photos of family and friends, and former guest stars.
That's an interesting one right there.
Or guest stars of her talk show like Madonna. She's even got a handwritten. Then there are the rows of wooden built-in shelves covered in McDonald's Happy Meal toys. But don't touch them. Move them even just a O'Donnell's been collecting in the 80s. When asked about her odd hobby, she's gone on to say that they simply remind her of childhood. But O'Donnell doesn't even need one of the more unique toys on her shelf, which she confesses.
Oh, yeah, there it is. I completely screwed up.
Which she confesses she didn't need to track down.
Oh, it's so tough. Which she confesses confesses she. Yeah, it's S. It's back-to-back S's. Always get me. I have to slow down. I got to make sure I do it right.
Which she confesses she didn't need to track down on her own. But Happy Meal toys aren't the only pieces of childhood memorabilia the comic keeps in her office. Her larger toy collection includes a an original Kitty Carryall, Mrs. Beasley, an original Kitty Carry, an original.
Confessed. Yeah, confessed. Yeah, that would have worked. Sometimes, well, I'll put it this way. I usually will edit. In fact, actually, there's one word. Actually, there's a bunch of words that I don't like. But when I see it written in a script, my head transforms it into the word that I prefer to say it, which is the word occur, where something occurred. I don't mind saying the word it occurred. It occurred to me. But a lot of the writers that I deal with, especially for top fives, they use occur all the time. And it doesn't flow. My mouth doesn't like it for some reason. Maybe it's just my accent or how I grew up. It just doesn't like it. So I change it to happened. So, it occurred to me, or this event occurred on May 14th, 1947. I just say, this event happened on May 14th, 1947. I mean, it means the same damn thing. Happened and occurred are just synonyms of each other. So my brain hates occurred. I love happened. Just say happened. It happened.
The game
anybody who uses occurred, I'm like, are you real? Did you grow up like this century? I mean, it just seems strange to me, that word. I don't know. Having said that,
Mila Kunis.
Oh, this is about her World of Warcraft addiction.
Mila Kunis is a self-proclaimed nerd and recovering WoW addict, decked out with pink pig and fire magic during her many quests and campaigns in Stormwind and the Dustholm Marsh.
The Dustholm Marsh. I said that completely wrong because I knew it was wrong.
The actress has said in multiple interviews that she ran about the realm as a gnome mage, decked out with pink.
It has come to my attention that you're a fucking jerk.
Her gnomes.
It has come to my attention. Yeah, that's like corporate bullshit speak. It has come to my attention.
Her gnome's name.
That's if somebody says that, they probably just like the way they probably just like listening to themselves. It has come to my attention.
But
okay. Somebody has made me aware of. Okay, fine. Yeah.
The question still. But the question still. Will the pink-haired Will the pink-haired... Will the pink...
Oh, yeah, that's right. Will the pink-haired,
the
fire-breathing gnome. Yeah.
Roth.
Well,
Number 2.
I might have to make a quick AFK for a moment. Hopefully not. If this system over there, it alerts me when I got these messages coming in.
In
2019.
Taking place while on tour. Rod Stewart's 1 to 87...
No, not yet. No, not yet.
Are as breathtaking as...
Good old
Stewart reported
references.
that the idea of the railway model itself...
Should I leave that in there?
...percent of the work was done himself.
I don't think so.
Stewart took parts of the model.
I don't think I've ever accidentally. Yeah, I've got this workflow. I've got this workflow down pat.
He was given a toy. But when he asked his father,
I think it's only maybe been a handful of times.
And the is history, and the rest, as they say, and the rest, as they say, is music history.
They don't. Nobody says that.
1. Go.
Oh, yep. I think I'm going to be right. No. People, what time is it? So 1:19. So some of the countries that I deal with are exactly 12 hours different from me. So it's like mid-lunchtime. Midnight, past midnight for them.
Billionaires poured billions of dollars into their respective personal spaceflight programs.
Spaceflight program.
Billionaires like Jeff. Billionaires.
Namtang.
Blue Origin, Space.
Namtang.
Bezos in particular. But what?
Oh yeah.
What sets this pretentious Branson to do the same just a few days before?
But what sets this bullshit apart? Youth pastor is asleep in Thailand right now. Yeah, I do have a lot of weird, for my most common time shift that I should get those clocks like the old newspapers used to have, where they show the different time zones. The most common one that I have is plus 5 or 6 hours, or plus 5 or 6 from my time, which is Eastern time.
Best of space.
So that's usually European, like London. I deal with a lot of London and Italy. Central European. It's usually 5 or 6 hours ahead of me, and I'm pretty much there.
Space.
Like I have that time zone down in my head now. I've got Hong Kong. I've got down in my head now, and there's a couple of new clients that I have that I think they're going to be the biggest leap that I have. I think it's 15 or 16 hours plus, which is he's in New Zealand, and haven't started working with him yet, but I think that's going to be a weird time shift for me. As long as I get the work done, it should be no problem. But yeah. So let's do this. Let's shave it. Casio watches that work as a world clock. Honestly, there's a widget that I'm just going to install in Windows that I can get to be an overlay on my screen. Well, I'm going to be right back. I have to be right back. It's always something. All right. There it is. Sorry about that. I get these alerts that, since my booth is in a different area, I get these alerts that something's going on in the booth and I need to address it. So yeah, I guess when we're all done this, we'll end the stream. Unless there's is there anybody left? Let's see if there's anybody left. If anybody has any questions, just let me know.
In a world where typing is quite literally constantly at your fingertips.
I gotta get it.
On to dozens and dozens of hairstyles and...
All right, so let's wait for that to be done. Oh, and make sure... Oh, wait, no, did I already... Yeah, I already saved that one. So, yeah. And the phase now should be within 2. Yeah, -2. Yeah. So this is just all considered... This, by the way, this phase bullshit is... It's one of those, I don't want to say audiophile things, but it kind of is an audiophile thing, where you're really not going to notice it. Most people are not going to notice it. Could I get away with it? Yeah, definitely. Nobody's going to notice it. I mean, it's just best practice, I guess. It's best practice. All right. Oh, I got too much stuff. Going. Too much stuff going. Okay. So am I even going to do the Viet Cong Tunnel Rat script yet? No, I guess the script is not ready yet. Script is not ready. Let's see. We had a bunch of other... Where is it? Simple history. This is MacGyver. MacGyver. The Spirit of Ukraine. That was this one. Whoops. Hold on. Let me open it up in... here so I can take a look at it. Yeah, so the phase is definitely a lot easier. It's a lot more balanced sounding. But I am going to do one thing. I am going to change my spectral display back to 82. It's just I can't stand looking at it otherwise. This is
the MacGyver Spirit of Ukraine. To MacGyver something means to make or repair a piece of equipment with whatever materials are at hand. Duct tape, scrap metal, and a pair of crossed fingers are the usual signs that something has been MacGyvered. And while this may lead some to think that improvised and cheap weapons are ineffective or of poor quality, the war in Ukraine is a blatant example of their effectiveness. Most of this technology is made possible by donations from ordinary citizens and supporters of the cause. As the people of Ukraine rally around their soldiers, old cars, trucks, wagons, and whatever supplies can be scavenged up are shipped to the front line. Although it's unclear to what extent many of the older cars are impacting the war, one thing is sure: drone technology is pestering and slowing down the Russian advance.
Yeah, we talk about a bunch of different technologies and stuff. That's going to be an interesting one, I think. Hopefully, I wonder if we can actually use the word MacGyver in the title. Yeah, we'll see. But it was interesting. It was interesting to see that as a script. And then we talk about, we talk about a bunch of different technologies. I think they're in sections.
DJI Mavic Quadcopter.
Yep, drone.
Kropiva software. DIY all-terrain buggies. Harm missiles on Soviet fighter jets.
And then there was another one, I think this one.
The MacGyver Spirit of the Ukrainian...
No, it was that one. Yeah, I think that was it. So only to 5 subsections. So what is that? 8 minutes and 50 seconds, basically. So, yeah. Trying to keep them down below 10 minutes. Or at least 9 something, I think. Been taking PKTs off Russian tanks and turning them into PKS for crouches. Yeah, there's a lot of information, both real information and misinformation, that seems to be coming out about what's happening over there. Like, I think it was just a news story this morning, I think I caught, that said some Russian bomber or plane dropped bombs on its own Russian city, which is kind of weird. I'm sure something like happened, but I don't know. I never know what to believe right now. I mean, this is one of those things that this is one of those events in history that simple history will be talking about in 5-10 years, or whenever the hell it's over, whenever it ends, we'll be talking about it. And it's going to be really strange. I mean, we're already talking about it, but it's going to be really strange because there's so much misinformation that you really got to be careful what you believe in, especially with the motives behind why certain countries are financially supporting Ukraine. Like the United States is sending, it's in the hundreds of billions now, I think. And we're not just sending directly. These things are getting there, especially hardware is getting there indirectly too. So what are the motives there? Are they just pure? Are we altruistic? Are we just being an altruistic country just to purely help a downtrodden nation? No, I don't. I think the motives are a bit foggy right now as to why some governments are helping a little more aggressively. And I guess that's always been the case. You know, I take that for granted. It's always been the case with the United States, I guess.
While many celebrities are known for their...
All right, let's just apply that. So yeah, it's weird. Videos I'm doing, I have to rework the mechanics of it and use for software. United States being pure in its motives. Well, no. By not pure, I'm saying as a. I know what you mean, but I will say that in general, the people of the United States, the people, usually when you donate through certain organizations, the motives are pretty pure. Like people, when they have private donations that go to help, the March of Dimes and the Red Cross, even though the Red Cross has some weird things that they divvy up money in weird ways, but it's whatever. It's generally a good, an altruistic deed, a very positive thing that people will donate their money to. What we're doing with government funds and taxes now, everybody has to pay for, even though some people don't agree with it, the motives are obscured, and I think it's under the guise of altruism, I think, at the moment, because you really have to dive down into the news reports to get a sense of the reality of the situation. What is it obscuring? That's the thing. Of course, everybody knows there are other reasons, and they're probably the same old ones that are always the reasons, which is, energy issues, oil pipelines, natural gas, resources. And it's very rarely about ideological issues, because if there were ideological concerns that a nation had over ideological differences in Ukraine and Russia, then we wouldn't even be there if it was completely based on ideological reasons, because there's some huge, massive ideological differences between what's going on or the mindset of the Ukrainian people and the Russian people versus the mindset of the Western nations. Is just a huge difference. So if it was ideologically based, I think it would be a lot less. I think it would be a little more obvious that some people don't want their money going towards that part of the world and that's why it's not. That's why there's not a huge private donations all the time over there. So yeah, we'll see. It's interesting. I'll put it that way. It's a tough topic to discuss since nobody knows everything about it.
Celebrity.
I don't purport to. Oh, I can hear the phase.
I'll see you next time. Seems it's become the most busy.
Yeah, I can hear it. All right, so let me save that. Man, what's going on over there is just a tough thing to talk about. I mean, I'm not in the middle of it, so I can't really talk intelligently about it, but I mean, we're part of a history channel, and we've talked about motives, and we've seen these kinds of things happen before in the past, and rarely do the motives really ever change. I mean, it comes down to a very small list of things that people always do. So, territory, power, resources. I mean, It's pretty obvious. At least to me, it's pretty obvious. But I just can't make, I don't want to make any assumptions. I don't want to make any assumptions. I hate making assumptions. Ukraine Red Cross. Yeah, when you start. So Ukraine Red Cross. Perfect. Red Cross is one of those organizations that I think people should donate to, just because they usually have a good track record. There are certain events and issues that might not be the norm for them, but wow, this one is just way off. What is happening? I have to look into that. Why my phase is just going completely off the rails here.
Way. And she's not even 50 yet. She's done a lot in a short amount of time. She once studied to become a funeral director.
Man, I gotta figure out what's going on there. That's weird. Oh well. Self-determination, mainly wanting to be a free nation. Yes, I agree. That tends to have a better chance of association in the West than Russia. Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah. And I can't fault them for that. It's like, some news, I think I saw some news reports lately, especially with what's kind of happening in the United States at the moment, being, I hate saying this, goddamn, how fractured we are as a country. There's so much ideological fractions. How do I want to say that? There's this ideological divisions that have been forming for the past 5, 10, probably more than that years, and we just sort of stay within our lanes. But that these lanes are changing so much that it becomes challenging to agree with the other lanes. And Poland. I think it was Poland. I saw a news interview with either the Prime Minister of Poland, or I don't know if they have a president, but it was about immigration going into Poland or taking refugees from other areas, and they didn't want. They basically just put a moratorium on immigration, and they just want to keep their country how they've been for the last however many hundreds of years. And they have every right to do so. And for the rest of the world to give them shit over what their border control policies are, I think that's just kind of silly. It's a sovereign nation. Let them do what they want and stop trying to use socialized pressure and this modern bullshit agenda to try to get them to do anything else. I mean, it's kind of a shame. And Ukraine is one of those kind of nations where it's got a history of some interesting belief structures, especially when it comes to certain ideological differences between certain groups. I mean, a lot of nations do. I think, almost every nation does. Almost all of them. The Uyghurs in China. I mean, that's unbelievable. I'm sure we're going to do an episode on that, about what's going on there. But Ukraine is different to me. It's just different. Something is. I just want to keep my hands off. I don't want to get my hands into that. And the least I can do is at least donate to some decent charities that can at least support the common people instead of supporting the machine. I don't want to support the machine, whatever that means. I don't want to support the industrial complex of war, no matter how much. So the humanitarian side of things is where I tend to feel my most empathy towards. But it's a very strange thing. Centralist libertarian, yeah, well, I guess you dislike both sides. Well, I'll put it this way. I'm very centrist, but I lean conservative. The older you get, it's a trope. It's the older you get, the more conservative you tend to be. But I got to say, I've had some conversations with some pretty older folks than I, and we're at a weird crossroads now as far as this strange ideological divide between the generations. And I think it's the deepest it's ever been. There's always been political dissent between generations, but now it really is fracturing. And those fractures, those chasms are just so deep and so wide that you don't see any value in a lot of this new stuff that newer generations and younger generations are proposing, like student debt, annihilating student debt forgiveness. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe I was smart enough to not have to get myself in debt too much, but that was a thing when I was going to school, and I never really decided to indebt myself for a degree that, for the most part, is not. It wouldn't do me a damn good thing unless it was some physics degree or something. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, centrist libertarian. I'm a centrist, but I lean conservative when I think about certain fiscal policies and things like that. So that's. I think it's just better. It creates a homogeneous system that works as good as that system can work. That's why a lot of people don't like capitalism. But at this point, we're not living in Star Trek land. So the capitalistic society that we have now is going to have to keep going until something drastic happens. Big giant war, or aliens, or God comes down to the earth. I mean, something is going to happen where it might change that. But until we liberate humans from having to deal with fossil fuels and just give them an unlimited energy source like fusion or whatever, I think we're always going to have these weird divides that just sort of conquer those things that we know are right and true for a growing, are we growing? A growing society, a growing species. It's weird. Little common with your generation being born in the aughts. That's good. Well, that's a good reason. That's definitely a good reason. But that's the case for what you just wrote there that's the case for education, I think. That's the case for understanding history, and why I gotta say probably a lot of our fan base, history fans, people who really enjoy learning about history, you're so far ahead of other people that just sort of don't have any interest in it at all, or they think that it's boring, or, why would I want to learn about something that happened 100 years ago or whatever. People who are interested in history have a much better grasp on the realities of life and in general. And I think that at least simple history fans will tend to clump. They would clump together in a group that has a very shared mindset. There's a lot of differences, of course, but I think overall the fans have a probably more of a centrist mindset. I think it's like the unsung, or it's the unspoken majority of people that are very centrist, and they realize that, going so far left or right or whatever, it's too much. It's too much, and it's just not worth it right now to have to invest in one side or the other, because, at least in America, the two-party system is just, oh God, it's just, I get it. I get why it's around and why we haven't gone to a three-party system, but, or gone to a multi-party system. I think we need to. Yeah, I think we need to, because there's room on the table now for a lot of different viewpoints, and I don't fit into the left, and I don't fit into the right. There needs to be something else, like libertarian or something similar, but yeah. But at least simple history fans, I think, have a better head on their shoulders than a lot of people that just have zero interest in learning about history. Yeah, it's fun talking about weapons and guns and soldiers and armies and stuff and battles and heroes. That stuff's awesome. But it makes you appreciate a lot more. At least, I mean, yeah, my brain grew up in the 80s, so it just makes you appreciate a smoother balance of things, and not forcing changes on people and forcing policies and administrational changes that make the world into a ideological hellhole, which is what we seem to be going towards, at least in America. It seems like me. It's about the gray. Well, can history be right and wrong? Yeah, it can. It is about, well, it's not about who's right or wrong, because there are right and wrong answers about events and, the actual facts of the matter. it's the interpretation that's why they're philosophers and whatnot, or historians, to at least enlighten us with their interpretations of facts. But we have so much data on the stuff that simple history does, because it's recent history. I mean, we stopped doing a lot of the really ancient history. But it is about the gray. You're right. It is about the gray. But there's definitely a right and a wrong attitude that you can identify easier. The Khmer Rouge is one thing. If you look at it, it's actually like what was that? Thanos in the Avengers. From his point of view, it made perfect sense, even though he was a bit sociopathic about his sort of methodology. But he was kind of right. He needed to do something, and something had to be done. So let's just get rid of half of all. Okay, that's fine. To tell a good story, but it's kind of like that with the Khmer Rouge and even the Great Leap Forward with Mao. Where what are you going to do? You have a population that's exploding. What are you going to do? You need to do something, and communism seemed like the answer, or this dictator fascism and communism seems to work for the short term, but just kills millions of people. It works. Is it wrong? Wrong. Is it wrong? Yes. So, yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. I mean, come on. We have tried this. I think we've tried to do this before. Talking about this kind of stuff would make a great podcast. We're talking about different modern interpretations of the really high-level philosophical discussion about events in the past that we've covered on Simple History. It would make a good podcast, I think. But I think we'd have to have some kind of historian come on and set me straight, because it would just be me talking nonsense about how it feels to interpret certain things through the lens of today. How would we interpret events of the past through the lens of today? We like to look back at World War II and those sorts of things, and how do we interpret the actions of 1939 Germany to 2020 United States? It would be interesting. The Simple History Armchair Historian pod, that would make an interesting thing. Yeah, well, put it this way. There's a lot of collaboration stuff that I would love to do. But right now, the workload, actually, what's a Friday? My workload is usually a little too much to get involved in big projects. I wish somebody would be able to do it, to be able to put together some time to sit down and just talk about this stuff for an hour or so. And then, so I don't have to, I can just talk about it. So I wouldn't have to do any of the editing and any of the audio production stuff. That would be interesting. That would be interesting. I've been talking about it for a while, but it's a challenging thing to organize, at least on my end. It would be challenging to organize it and to actually produce it. But that would be a very interesting thing. I think it would be successful, because I know there's that, what's his name? I can't remember his name. He has a great history podcast. I cannot remember his name. Dan? Ooh, not Dan. I can't remember his name. It's a great podcast. It's down to earth, a lot of good writing. No, not him. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Let me see if I can look it up. Let's see. Dan Carlin, Hardcore History. I've listened to that. That's, if you haven't heard that, go watch it. Fantastic. Long form content he does. I think he's been doing it. Yeah. Derailed the stream? Yeah, because we're just talking about, I'm all done. Look, I'm done. I got my editing done. It's great. Actually, wait, how long have we been streaming? Almost 3 hours. I plan to cut it for 3 hours. I plan to do it for about 3 hours. But that's fine. But yeah, go check out Hardcore History. Dan Carlin. Good stuff. It's good stuff. It's interesting. It's interesting content is what he puts out. I know. I think he's on one of my podcast streams or one of my feeds that I use. But he does a lot of good. He's got good writers, or I'm not sure if he's doing all the writing, but the production quality is pretty solid, and it's nice and in depth. Nice and depth. It would almost be like a podcast to do Lex Friedman, but with historians. Because I know Lex Friedman does a lot of tech people, a lot of people interested in science and programming and technology. And actually, he's had everybody on there. It's like Joe Rogan, I guess. He has everybody on there. But it would be cool to have specifically a history focused thing. Somebody who can come in and dissect a certain topic, and then we can just talk about it through the lens of today. Because history is very... I mean, for the most part, I think we understand a lot of what's going on, and the interpretation of viewing events through similarity, what similarities events of the past might have to today. Like we always talk about, doomed to repeat them. If you don't understand history, you're doomed to repeat the events of the past. Yeah, but let's look at it a little bit more. What specifically would we repeat if this were to happen again? What would be the thing that would repeat? That would be interesting. I'm developing. Abed, stop developing. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's good stuff. All right. I think I'm going to call it. Come on, I got to call it. I'm done just sitting here bullshitting about history, and I'm not getting anything done. I got to send these files out. I got to get them out. They're done. I'm ready to go. Got to get paid. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun hanging out with you. I'm going to be doing this a little bit more, I think, a little bit more frequently over the next coming weeks, just to, I want to try to get into a routine of just enjoying some of this, at least getting the work out so I can chat with some fans and just talk about stuff, because it's fun. It's fun. But yeah, all right, whoopsie, let me find my thing here. Yeah, all right, I'm going to call it. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with me. It was fun. Yeah, you be safe too out there, huh? I gotta go out and buy a weapon. Apparently is what I gotta do, because apparently there's so many goddamn shootings all over this country this last week. Maybe I'll go out and buy a gun. We'll see. All right. Okay. All right, we're out. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you guys soon.